Hello everybody, welcome to Feel the Heel, a Dungeons & Dragons online walkthrough through the eyes of a cleric. I'm Zen, it's the character selection screen, and let's get started. So first of all, you're not going to have anything here, unless you've already played the game, in which case, while you're watching, you're just going to have nothing here. You're going to have a blank screen, you're going to go ahead and hit create. So first of all, you're going to be brought up to these three different styles. You have your melee, your sword, shield, and greatsword, your spells, which are your spells, and your specialist, which use daggers, rapiers, bows, and crossbows. So first off, I'm going to be playing Cleric, so that's a spell. I'm going to hit male, little guy. Go ahead and hit next or a class. Hit Cleric. Path is going to be custom. You can choose these other ones if you want. They're pre-made, so you won't be able to choose anything else. But they're not that good. They're good if you really don't know anything and you really just want to play the game. But I suggest looking on the forums or follow what I'm doing. These will give you the best types of builds that have been played and tested and are usually pretty good for end game material. So these are different races. You have your half-orc, which are mainly your tanks and everything, or your damage dealers. Drow, which can be used for different spell classes, specialists. Half-elf, which are human sort of elf creatures. They're not really that good, at least in my opinion. Some people love them, some people hate them. I just don't like them. Your Warforged is sort of a wood robot. Very good for DPS, very good for tanking. Not my favorite class. Your Dwarf is, well, a dwarf. He's good for tanking. Can be used for a cleric. All these races can be used for a cleric. No race is not allowed to be a certain class. They all can be used. Most of them are viable for certain classes. I just prefer to use human. Halfling, usually rogues. Elf, usually rangers. Again, none of these are specific to any certain class. These are just my opinions and my thoughts. If you like using a half-orc cleric or a warforged rogue, more power to you. I just prefer to use humans for clerics and other classes for certain things. Keep in mind, though, that each class does have a little bonus. So if you just go back and we pick human, the versatility allows you to be good for any class. Basically, there are no benefits and no disadvantages to being any class as a human. For instance, the dwarf, if you go to more info, dwarves have higher constitution but lower charisma, so they'd make terrible, well, not terrible, but in my mind, really bad paladins, but would make great tanks. Again, in my opinion. Anyway, go back to human. We're going to hit look. This is going to show you your build. I have 32 points because I've bought the 32-point build, but you can also start off for free to play with a 28-point build and eventually unlock veteran status, which gives you 32 points. So for your 28-point build, I suggest 14 strength, 14 charisma, 17 wisdom, and 11. We're going to have 11 for your charisma. So for those of you who don't know what these different stats do, strength is your damage with a weapon and your chance to hit with a weapon, as in melee weapon, not as in anything else, and also your carry weight. So I like 14 because if you get debuffed, normally you're not burdened, unless you have your entire pack full with heavy objects, in which case you're going to get burdened. Dex is for ranged weapons, mostly at least. They can do other things like your reflex saves, but again, as a cleric, I don't really need it unless I'm doing a ranged cleric, which I'm not. Constitution is your health points, which, of course, the more you get, the more health you have. You can go lower than 14, you can go higher. My preference is 14, it's in the middle, and I just find it works the best for me. Now, your intelligence will affect your wizards and other classes that use arcane. We're going to be playing a cleric, we're not going to use that, unless you're doing some sort of a weird multi-class, which we'll get into later down the line. Rogues also use this for the disable device, but again, clerics don't need it, so I just go ahead and skip that. Your wisdom, that is all of your spell power for the cleric. It will heal you a whole bunch more the more you have. You'll be able to cast more, and you need a certain amount to get certain amounts of spell levels. So of course, wisdom equals the way to win. Charisma will affect your turn undead as a cleric. Again, I don't use it. I'm not playing a turn undead sort of a guy. I have some in case I really need to, but again, I'm not. So, first 32-point build people, you're going to have 12 charisma and 18 wisdom. Again, this is all my opinion. If you want to change these around, go right ahead. I would recommend looking up builds in the forums. Who knows? I could be doing things a terrible way. There may be a better build for certain ways you want to play. Just go ahead and look on the forums. So these are your skills. This is not as important for a cleric as most other classes, at least in my opinion. If you're playing a rogue, I would be going in depth with all this and showing you what you want to pick, what don't you want to pick. As a cleric, there's only 2 real skills you really have to pay attention to. That's concentration, which will help you be able to still cast spells while being hit, and your heal, which will help you not only heal people more, but also when you're resting at a rest shrine and other people around you are resting, they will get more health points back than if you weren't there. So the higher this is, the more they're getting healed. That's the entire party. If just whoever has the highest will affect everybody. So these are your feats. As a human, I have the human bonus feat and the regular feat. Everybody gets 1, humans, and I believe half-elves get 2. So these can either be passive, sustained, or active. I am going to be choosing 2 passives at the moment. Those are toughness and mental toughness. Toughness gives you 5 or 10 extra health points. Nope. Sorry, I meant 3. I'm thinking mental toughness. Sorry, it's 3 at the first level, and then it goes up by 1 each additional level. So if you go over to mental toughness, this is your plus 10 at base level. Then it gives you 5 extra each level there on out. You can take improved mental toughness later on, which will give you more spell points. I just take the base one, unless I really have an extra feat, in which case I go ahead and grab it. So these are your spells. Clerics get 15 spells at the first level. You don't have to pick any of these, they're all automatically given to you. Go ahead, this is an overview of all your stats, your race, all your different feats you have. You are given more feats than what you pick. These are just base feats that clerics get. These are all your skills that you picked and didn't pick. So these are just what they look all over across the board. Go ahead and hit next. This is going to be your character creation screen. I already have a character in mind, so it's going to take me not much time at all. So for those of you who want different class walkthroughs or want me to go more in depth with some things, just go ahead and let me know. I'll gladly do videos about that. Go ahead, I'm going to get a nice goatee. Shrink that nose. And why not change the eyebrows? And go back to that eyes. So, over here's where you name and choose your alignment. What better name for this guy than Feel the Heal? This is your surname down below, your last name. Don't need it. You can put it in if you want, but I just prefer not to have one. Your alignment is more of a role-playing option. It does affect some weapons and some damages, but I haven't noticed a big enough difference for me to say, yes, as a cleric, go this, or yes, as a rogue, go this. I just prefer chaotic good. That's why I like using certain classes will not allow you to take certain ones. Like I know for the paladin, you can only take lawful, but other ones just allow you to take anyone you want. Anyway, so I'm going to go ahead and enter. So I'm going to be starting differently than most of you who are playing for the first time. I'm starting off on a ship, while most of you would just be starting on a crashed ship on an island. I have veteran status, so this is going to start me off up here. So this is your heads-up display. You're going to have your character, level, health, and mana over here. This is going to be sort of a little display area for whatever your cursor is over. So let's say I put it on the little minotaur over here. So show me his name and what he looks like. So, what I like to do is I like to hit the I 2 times and it brings it down here in a nice little corner. This is your little skill selection, so I always put it in the middle, and then I hit up arrow for number 2, this little arrow to pop it out, go back down to 1, and then drag it over. You can do that all the way up to 20. You could have them all throughout the screen. I just prefer to have mine right down the center. Here's your generic little chat box. You have the guild channel over here, general, party, combat. Combat is just going to be the dice rolls, which you don't really need to pay attention to if you're just going to be going through dungeon. I know I usually stick on general or party. So down here is your little experience bar. It's going to say level 1, rank 1. There are 25 levels in Dungeons & Dragons Online at the moment, but that's not, 25 times filling the bar. It's actually more or less 150, I believe, because it's 5 ranks per level. My math could be off there. In fact, I believe it is. I believe it's 125. Anyway, so we're just going to go over here. As you can see, this little box over here says The Voyage. Speak with Thaleth Aroeth. That's just for me because I'm starting on the ship. This is the veteran status I was talking about. It allows me to start at level 7, 4, or 1. I'm starting on 1 just so I can play through with you guys. So for all of you who started off brand new, no veteran status, this is what you were looking at. As you can see, there's a crashed ship off in the distance, and you're shipwrecked. So go ahead and talk to Jeets over here. Go ahead. If you want to read it, go ahead. But I'm just going to skip through. He's going to run up here with you behind you. Just wait for him at the top when you get up here. But while I'm waiting, I'm just going to hit Escape, go to Options, UI Settings, and hit Don't Show Hints. I'll get rid of those little exclamation points off to the side. Let's go ahead and exit that. Ah, here he is. So, as a healing cleric, and trying to stick to lore as well, I'm going to take the heavy mace. You can go quarterstaff if you want to be healing one as well. I just prefer the heavy mace. Does more damage, and again, closer to lore. For those of you who want to go sort of a warrior cleric, that's going to be mainly DPS with some healing. Go ahead and hit the great axe, but again, I'm just going to be taking the nice old heavy mace. So hit I for your inventory, and double click on the weapon. It'll equip it down here in your weapon slot. Just going to go through the other controls at the moment. WSD, if you haven't noticed at the moment, is your movement. Space is your jump. I, inventory. L, quest log. P is your compendium, which has the different adventures you can run, the levels, the patrons, have you beaten it or not, the favor, how many different groups and everything. Challenges I haven't touched yet, so we'll get into that maybe later on. Wilderness, if you're in an open location, such as Korthos Island, it'll have your Slayer, your Explorer, and your rare encounters. Slayer is how many monsters you've fought in the area. Explorer is how many locations you found. And rare encounters are the bosses, like mini-bosses. For those of you who don't know, the wilderness is sort of like, if you've ever played Final Fantasy, the open areas. They're not like set little areas. They're, pretty big, and they're wide open. Patrons deal with favor, which allow you to unlock different bonuses. There's certain ones you want to go for, certain ones you don't, but we'll get into that later on. Anyway, M is your map, and then C is your character screen. So for us clerics, we're going to go to spells. You're going to see this little plus, that's your Cure Light Wounds for level 1, and these 2 other squares. This is where you put your spells in. Go ahead and hit L1 over the side, and pick your spells. Now, you cannot unequip Cure Light Wounds. You have to have Cure Light Wounds. It's just how the game has it. I always pick Bless, and then Summon 1, that's down here. There are other ones in here you can go ahead and pick, like Nimbus of Light, which does damage, Remove Fear, which dispels fear, which is a debuff from most enemies, Shield of Faith, which is a buff, and all those other ones. You can go ahead and read through these on your character if you want, but I'm just going to go ahead and skip these. Your enhancements you get when you level up. I'll show you later on. Crafting is just when you start crafting. Your feats are all the feats you chose, and all the ones that are given to you. So some ones, like say Sneak, I get rid of down here in my bar. I can go ahead and drag it back down, and it'll go back down there. Turn Undead for Clerics, again, just go ahead and drag it down there if you don't have it already. Skills, show you all those skills we chose or didn't choose earlier on. And then the general stats just give you all the stats, like your different skills or stat levels, your different hit points and everything. But again, if you need to look at those, I guess you could, but I don't usually look at that. Anyway, for those of you who don't like this big giant box over here, go ahead and hit the eyeball and I'll shrink it. So, you're going to have to talk to Jeets. You just say, what do you want me to do? Go talk to Salimus. And then Talbron will show you the way. I'm just going to go ahead and run right up. There's only one place to go on the island besides the shore, and that's up here. So there's no real other way to go. There are these crates and barrels found throughout the island. They drop some gold, some arrows, I believe, but nothing really necessary. This is the dungeon entrance. They'll look differently for every dungeon, but for this one, the grotto, it's just a little cave entrance. Go ahead and click on it. This is the dungeon screen. It'll show you the name, the grotto, the level, 1, the duration, medium. These are your difficulties. You have solo, which is 1 player. Normal, which is a medium difficulty. It's harder than normal, or harder than solo, lower than hard. That's your first group level. You don't have anything lower. It's just normal, and then you go higher from there. Hard will increase your XP earned, will increase the difficulty of the monsters, and has a chance to increase the loot dropped. Elite is harder still. Again, harder enemies, more experience, better loot. These are your bravery bonuses. If you have a streak running with a certain difficulty of hard or elite, you'll get more experience. The way you break those streaks, though, is if you play, let's say you have 15 elite and 15 hard. If you play hard, you get rid of your elite. If you play normal, you get rid of your hard. If you have normal and you have both 15 hard and elite, you break both. The way you can get both at the same time, like the 15 I was talking about, is you play elite. It'll give you 1 hard and elite for every elite you beat. Your grouping options is basically, do you want it to be a private group, which is you can only invite people, or solo, or do you want to have public group, which is people can join you as long as they meet a set requirement set by the party leader. So for this one, we can't choose anything. We just get the basic solo and no grouping. Go ahead and hit enter. This is a tutorial dungeon. It'll pretty much hold your hand throughout here. Just go ahead and talk to Salimus. Whatever choice you want. Say sounds good, either way, and you'll just quickly run through. The spell she casted on us is shown up here, Protection from Death. It is only in this dungeon to my knowledge. It's not a player spell, to my knowledge. Basically, it stops you from dying. If for some reason you die in this dungeon, it'll just raise you back up. Let's go ahead and jump on the ladder. You don't need to click anything, just go ahead and walk onto it and jump. So we're just going to run around down here. I'm going to equip my spells. In case you didn't see, I did take fall damage. That is in the game, so don't think you can fall from anything and live. So I just casted my Bless. It gives you a +1 to attack rolls and a +1 to save against fear. And I'm going to summon my little dog. So here's your first enemy. An aging Swahagan warrior. Sort of like a merman. Let's go ahead and beat at him. He usually won't attack you. Left click on the little lever there, and then Salimus, Talron, and Jeets will come through. So there's no exploration in this dungeon. Most dungeons have different paths to go through that you can search for and find. There's really only one way to go in here. So go ahead and just keep opening the lever. You're going to come to this room. It's sort of an arena. You're going to see this door off to the left, which is locked, and you're going to see this little pool protected by a gate. You can't get down there yet. For those of you who play Halo, this is pretty much like a firefight. People are just going to keep coming down, and it's scripted. There is no way to beat this faster. You could, in theory, just go AFK and sit here, and they would die eventually. But, you know, this isn't going to solve itself. You have to stay here and help. Because at some point, you're going to need to jump in and do something. For those of you who don't know the combat yet, go ahead and left-click and that will be your attack. Sorry about that. And then also, if you go ahead and hold the right button on your mouse and move your mouse around, it'll sort of move the camera while moving you. I'm just going to warn you for things like that just happened, where my recording software just sort of cuts out on me and I have to restart real quickly. You may notice a quick jump in the little frame here. So I'm going to try and keep an eye on that. Be aware this is one of my first videos, so I'm sorry if it's a bit buggy. So over here, you're going to see this can't be locked. Cheats is just going to say there's no lock, there's no key. Talaron's going to find this little latch over here, and you have to go in the water. So just go ahead and jump in. And what you do to go down is you hold your right mouse button, look down, and then move forward with W. You're going to swim down, you're going to have a little breath meter. Go ahead and click on the silver key and hit space to go up pretty fast. Once you get back up, you can either jump out if you have a good jump, or just go on the ladder. Let's go ahead, run over to the lock door, and go ahead and open the lock. I'm just going to quickly heal. As you can notice, my spell points are going down while my health is going up. These are the shrines. You have your blue one, the rest shrine, which is what I was talking about with the healing, will give more people health. It also restore your mana. The red one is the red shrine. If you're dead and you're in a group and they bring you to one of these, hit the red one and you'll come back to life. Just go ahead and take a nice little rest. Your mana should go back to normal. If you lost any health and you didn't heal, your health will go back up. And once you're done, we're going to continue through the dungeon. So at this point, you can change your spells if you wanted to. You can only do this at a rest shrine after you've rest, or at a tavern. I'm fine with my spells, I'm going to keep them. So you're going to go over here, and you come to a locked gate, and jeets, and these big blades. Now rogues could disable these, but again, we're not a rogue. Go ahead and talk to him. He's just going to say he's going to disable the trap, and we can't do it. So he's going to quickly find this magic box we can't see, and then he's going to open the gate without moving. Go ahead and open the gate, and we're just going to run right through and finish the dungeon. So this is your first little mini-boss coming up. So again, if for some reason you didn't rest, go ahead and either rest now or heal right here if you have enough spell points. I'm just going to give a quick bless and summon my little dog. The red one is your boss. That's going to be the one you want to look out for. Shouldn't be too much of a problem in the tutorial, but once you get through more dungeons on higher levels, those ones will definitely hurt you. So just be careful. Like again, she already did 10 hit points to me, so just gotta be careful of that. So she's gonna say there's a secret passage somewhere that leads to the town, but go for what you really care for. The chest. The big, giant, obvious chest. So once you open it, you're going to see these battle-worn things and the ring of water breathing. The items you get will be different based on your class, but for the clerics, you get those. Go ahead and put all your stuff on. Now your ring of water breathing, you see that little one there? That allows you to use an ability on it. What you're going to do is go ahead and drag that down onto your bar, wherever you want. I like to put it up there. When you click on it, it'll use the water breathing ability, which gives you a duration of 1 minute 30 seconds of water breathing. So you can't drown during that point. And it's not only yourself, but anyone in the area. So save that. It'll regen after every dungeon, and I believe every rest as well. Anyway, so you're going to see this little spot hidden door thing. It's going to say your acute senses sense something. Go ahead and hit your little search icon, which is the magnifying glass. It's going to search. This magic little yellow glowing wall pops up. Go ahead and open it, and you're going to come to this little door and storage area. Now before you go, make sure to talk to Solimus, because you're going to get another weapon. So from here, you can pick all of those ember weapons, the hand wraps, or these wands. Now, as a cleric, if you're playing like I am, you're either going to want to get the Eternal Wand of Spark of Light, which does these little lightning bolts. I don't like it that much. You may, if you like it. This also gives you a plus 30 equipment bonus to your light and alignment spell power. I don't like it. I always go for the Ember Mace. So go ahead. This is bind on pickup. Bind weapons, for those of you who don't know, you cannot sell, you cannot trade, you can destroy, but you cannot do anything else with them. So make sure you pick the one you want. You're going to get this little experience. For those of you who don't know how to find your experience for the dungeon, you hit the X button, and this brings up the little scorecard for the dungeon. At the top, you can see the name, the level, what difficulty, the base experience, if you've completed it or not. And this is going to be the highest level player, the level of the adventure. If you've re-entered it, it's going to have bonuses here. So let's say it's your first time completing solo. You get plus 25. Now, this doesn't happen all the time. So let's say you play an elite, you won't get a plus 25 for beating it solo. You'll get plus 25 for beating it the first time, and beating like a 15% or 50% for beating it on elite, plus all your bravery bonuses. Again, you can see this big wall of text. This is if I had any bonuses here, but I don't. You can see 19 monsters killed. They'll show you who killed them. I only killed 3. Misadventure are things like your summons, I believe, as well as different NPCs that are helping you. Traps disabled, like the one that Jeet's disabled back there. If anyone disabled those, they'll go. Both of these will give you bonuses. If the party kills X amount of monsters, you'll get certain amounts of experience. So let's say you get 50 monsters in the dungeon, you may get 15% extra experience. The same for traps, same for discovering doors, same for breakables. So you're going to want to smash everything unless the quest says not to. You're going to want to find as much as you can, which is the search icon down here. Disable everything, which are the rogues and your artificers, and kill as much as you can. Now you see these re-entries and the deaths. Re-entries. If you re-enter, you will lose that persistence bonus. You'll actually, if you keep re-entering, you'll start losing experience. Same with death. You'll get rid of that bonus, and keep dying though, you don't lose any more experience. I'm pretty sure it stops. You just lose the flawless victory. It'll show you the amount of time it took, and the total experience awarded. So after you go through that, go ahead and exit. This will bring you to the main village, Korthos. So we're going to stop right here for this video. Thanks for watching. This has been Feel the Heal. I'm Zen, and I'll see you next time.